So in this third video to do with marketing, we're looking at segmentation, targeting and positioning, STP as it's known. It's seen at first as somehow fairly complicated, but actually it's really not difficult at all. What we're looking at is the concept that the population is made up of many different groups, and you could cut them through in different ways. You could separate them out by different age groups or different genders or different nationalities. You can then, having split the population up into different groups, you can decide which of those groups is most likely to be interested in your product, so therefore who you should target at, and then how you should position your product in amongst all the other products that are vying for the same place. So market segmentation is not complex at all. It's just a multitude of ways of pulling apart people, populations. Keywords that you need to think about are demographic, geographic, behavioural and income. So demographics is things that in the main stay with you, you have and you cannot make changes to. So your nationality broadly is yours. Your age is something that you have, you cannot easily change it. So we could separate out groups of people by demographic segmentation. We could choose particular age groups. For instance, there used to be a Club 1830 as a holiday group, or by gender. You could separate people out by social class, and there's a categorization, which I don't know how much this applies to the population anymore, but used to group everybody within, every working person within these social classes, and you were defined by your class by what job type you had. You may be at different position in your family. Then there are things like residential status. So there is a system called ACORN, which I've just realised stands for A Classification of Residential Neighbourhoods. Very clever. And what you can do if you subscribe to ACORN is you can type in a postcode, and they will give you all the details about social class, what area of the family cycle anybody in that postcode is likely to be in, what gender, what age, just very broadly what that type of person would be like at that postcode. We could also segment people by geography. So it could be different parts of the country, it could be north and south, or it could be rural versus city-based, things like that. Income segmentation. So we like, as they suggest, Volkswagen is at lower incomes, Golf is at medium incomes, and I don't know what that is, Phaeton is for higher earners. So you might segment your population by the income they take in, or by their behaviour. Things that may fit in the behaviour are whether people have breakfast or not, how often they do their washing, whether they go out for walks or not, whether they have a particular hobby or not. So all of those are different behaviours. They are your choice whether you take part in them or not, and they are a separate way, another way that you could pull apart a population. It's good to segment or pull apart your population, because we can decide who are perhaps a new market segment that's appearing. You can avoid marketing to people who you know will not be interested in your product. And that way you can make the best use of your funds. On the other hand, once you separate out people and then you target individual groups, you might ignore categories of customers who could be marketed to, or maybe don't fit into something you haven't looked for. Things change, remember, as ever. Information is historical and you don't know if that will stay the same. And it's not always easy to put people into those categories. Once you've segmented or you've pulled apart the population, then you decide which of those segments is the most appropriate to focus on for your product. So why would you target a particular group? Well, you may feel that that group will offer the most growth for your product. You may feel that they will offer the most profit. You may feel that this is the most competitive area. Perhaps it's been ignored by others. It may be the most accessible. Or it may be not that it will be the most profitable, but it suits the objectives of your corporation. So, for example, in the AS exam paper, I think, that was done recently, it talked about the youth hostel organisation, and they may target people who enjoy hiking. They don't need particularly high income, and they will buy properties that are in remote areas, not because they will give the most profit, but because that is what their corporate objectives are asking for. So you have an opportunity. When I say targeting, you have two opportunities really. You can target to a niche, to a smaller group that you have decided to target towards, or an alternative is that you just target to the whole population. Of course, with niche marketing, the disadvantage is it's a smaller market. You're going to have to sell smaller amounts, and therefore maybe less economy of scale. You're missing out on possible opportunities, but you have unique tailor-made products that people will like, and so you know you are targeting it at exactly the people who want it. More accurate use of targeting. On the other hand, if you just go for mass marketing, you have a much larger customer base. You just target to everybody. You make so many that it becomes cheaper to produce each individual unit. You've got a potential for higher revenue because you've got more customers. But because of that, there's more competition. You probably have to reduce the price because of the competition, so each individual item will bring in less. You're going to have to produce something that is quite standard because it has to suit every member of the population, not just a small targeted area. And you may have to invest more. So those are your opportunities. Product differentiation clearly is that you can make the product just slightly different for different groups of customers. And then positioning. We're looking again then at market mapping, as we did in the previous video, and we're looking at, in terms of the broad market, our competitors, where on two criteria, where are those competitors placing their products? And what we want to do, if we're going to position, is we're going to look for where there is a gap, there is an area that is not currently supported by any other company. And what will help you decide about your target market positioning? So you're going to look at your strengths. What is the business good at? Are we highly skilled? Are we able to get products very quickly? Are suppliers very flexible? Another influence would be competition. If there is a high level of competition, is that the right area to go into? Once we have started telling customers that a product has a certain feel to it, then if we start trying to change that branding, that will give a confused message. What else might influence the market position that we take? The business innovation. If we're a flexible company, do we like innovation? Would we like to go into a new area? Or are we steady and would we like to stay where we've been for a long time? Are we looking for innovation? Have we got the money and the resources for that? And finally, my cat's scratching at the door there. And finally, the market conditions. Shops, as it says there, like Aldi and Poundland, in the last few years, during the time of austerity, have really flourished because people have decided they do not have spare money to spend on luxuries as much in John Lewis and Waitrose, and instead they're going for lower cost brands like Aldi and Poundland. That's not to say every customer is, but broadly that's the direction that the market has gone in. There's my cat meowing. And I'll see you for the last video about marketing in a minute.